But let's start with the news that Manchester United have made an official bid to RB Leipzig for their striker Benjamin Sesko to rival Newcastle's offer. Well, we'll get the Newcastle view in just a moment from Keith Downey. First, though, to Manchester, where we can speak to Peter Stevenson. Evening both. Peter, let's start with you then. All right, so Manchester United have finally shown their hand. Give us the details of the bid.
Yeah, Mike, it's a fascinating situation because, as we've known all summer, United have been pretty determined to solve their one huge problem they had last season. They couldn't score goals. They only scored 44, and only Everton and the three relegated clubs scored fewer than that. So a major problem, and we've seen them act already in the market, bringing in the likes of Kuna and Mbemo. But of course, it's that central striking position that they've been looking at for so many weeks now, and it would appear that Benjamin Sesko, the 22-year-old, 6'5", is the man that they want. Tonight, United tell me officially no comment, but we know that bid is in, as you say, just under £74 million. That's around 65 million initially, with around 9 million in add-ons. So that's the bid on the table, not just as much as Newcastle United, and from a club with no European football to offer, of course, as United finished 15th as opposed to Newcastle's 5th place last season. So on that basis, you would imagine the meeting that's taking place at RB Leipzig this afternoon, a fascinating board meeting that must be as well, may have not that much to consider, you would imagine, because if Newcastle come in with a higher figure, maybe the more attractive proposition for the player. But it would appear the signs today have all been that the player himself, who we're told, according to a post on the Leipzig website, is training individually. Penny for his thoughts as he jogs around that pitch. But by all accounts, he's leaning towards the possibility of coming to Manchester United. And you remember a few months ago, Ruben Amorim saying that we're Manchester United. Everybody wants to play for Manchester United, and we could soon see yet more proof of that if they can get this deal over the line in the next couple of days.
Thank you, Peter. Right, what's all the fuss about?
Well, top-class strikers seem to be few and far between in world football over the last few windows. But I do wonder if United's Director of Recruitment, Christopher Vivell, is taking a big part of this as well. It's not just Ruben Amorim driving this, because he's known him at Leipzig as well. But let's just have a look at his Bundesliga record, and you can tell, you can see he's had a fantastic season in the Bundesliga. A very great asset he'd be if he were to join Newcastle or Manchester United. They both want him for very different reasons. There we go there. Appearances, 14 goals in 31 appearances a couple of seasons ago, and 13 in 33. But it's his all-round game as well, while United are looking at him. As we heard earlier, 44 goals only in the league last season. And of course, in terms for Newcastle, you'd say in an ideal world for Newcastle replacing Alexander Isak if he was to move on as well. But looks like this saga is going to continue. But a major development, of course, this afternoon from Manchester United.
So let's just say Sesko does go to Manchester United, Rob. Does that mean Rasmus Hojlund needs to pack his bags and go?
Almost certainly, yes. Because for a couple of reasons, Mike. I mean, the first point is that Manchester United are not flush for cash, and so if they spend all that sort of money on Benjamin Sesko, you're talking £74 million in total, that package. Can they afford to keep another player of his quality as his understudy? And by the way, there's a real parallel here, because Hojlund signed for Manchester United 2 years ago to this very day. And the deal was almost exactly the same, £64 million plus £8 million in add-ons. For Sesko, we're talking about £65 million with £9 million in add-ons. And what Manchester United were buying then, they thought, was potential. A 20-year-old striker who hasn't quite lived up to that potential. They think Sesko is more of the finished article. He's not the finished article that Gyökeres is at Arsenal, by the way, for a similar amount of money, who's 5 years his senior. But they believe they're buying real potential that they think can replace and improve what they've had in Rasmus Hojlund. So I'd expect Manchester United to try and sell Hojlund, yes, £30 to £35 million. They'd take a big hit, maybe half of what they paid for him 2 years ago. But the question mark always for Manchester United and every other big Premier League club is, who's got the money to pay his wages? Hojlund's not going to leave for a pay cut. which of the clubs across Europe have got the sort of money that are prepared to pay Rasmus Hojlund the wages he's on at Manchester United? Do any of those need a striker? So it's not as easy as you think just to say, yeah, we'll ship him out. But it's pretty clear that Manchester United, having spent, if this deal gets through, £214.4 million already in this window, they've got to start recouping some of that.
First league game of the season, Manchester United against Arsenal. Could it be Sesko lining up against Gyökeres? We'll see.
United manager Ruben Amorim is said to be directly involved in both deals, pushing for the acquisition of Sesko to strengthen the attack and Donnarumma to provide world-class security between the sticks. The double swoop is expected to cost a significant sum, but the board believes both players are critical to the club's rebuild. Meanwhile, in a shocking twist, Chelsea have entered advanced talks to sign Manchester United's rising star, Alejandro Garnacho. The 20-year-old Argentine winger is reportedly open to the move, with his representatives in London this morning discussing terms with Chelsea officials. Enzo Maresca, Chelsea's head coach, is a strong admirer of Garnacho's explosive talent and believes he could be the perfect long-term solution on the flanks for the Blues. Romano confirmed this morning that Garnacho's move is progressing fast and could be finalized by the end of the week. With Sesko and Donnarumma likely to arrive at Old Trafford and Garnacho heading to Stamford Bridge,